I should have seen it in her eyes, that bright, almost manic gleam when she talked about the future, the way her hands moved too quickly, gesturing at invisible dreams. But I was her mother, and mothers want to believe in their children's happiness. That's where I went wrong. It was a Tuesday morning in late March when my daughter Emma called. I was in my garden in Scottsdale, Arizona, deadheading the roses that had just started their spring bloom. I'd lived in that house for 32 years. Built memories there. Buried my husband from that house. The walls knew my laughter and my tears. "Mom, can I come over? Daniel and I need to talk to you about something important." Daniel, my son-in-law of 3 years, a software engineer with big ideas and bigger promises. I'd liked him well enough at the wedding, though something about his smile never quite reached his eyes. But Emma loved him, and that was supposed to be enough. They arrived an hour later in Daniel's new BMW. That should have been my first clue. He was 36, Emma was 33, and they were supposed to be saving for a house. But there he was, stepping out of a car that cost more than some people's annual salary. "Mom, you look great," Emma said, hugging me too tight, too long, like she was preparing me for something. We sat in my living room, the afternoon light streaming through the windows I'd cleaned just that morning. Emma perched on the edge of my late husband's favorite chair. Daniel sat beside her, his hand on her knee, his expression serious. "Mrs. Richardson," Daniel started. He'd never called me Margaret, despite my asking him to. "We have an incredible opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime chance." I waited. I'd learned over 65 years that when someone says something is once in a lifetime, they usually want your money. "Daniel's developing an app." Emma jumped in, her words tumbling over each other. "It's going to revolutionize how people manage their finances. We already have investors interested. We already have meetings lined up with venture capitalists." "That sounds wonderful," I said, meaning it. I wanted good things for my daughter. "The thing is," Daniel leaned forward, "we need seed money. Just to get us through the next phase. To build the prototype, hire a small team. The investors won't commit until they see we have skin in the game." My stomach tightened. I knew where this was going. "How much?" I asked. Emma's eyes met mine. 400,000. The number hung in the air between us like smoke. That's a lot of money." "We know," Emma said quickly. "We know. But Mom, this is guaranteed. Daniel's partner already has a working model. We just need the capital to scale it. The investors have basically promised us $2 million in funding once we show them we're serious." "And where would I get $400,000? They exchanged a glance. That's when I knew they'd already planned this conversation, rehearsed it. "Your house," Daniel said. "It's worth at least $500,000, probably more in this market. You could sell it, give us the $400,000 for the investment, and keep the rest for yourself. Maybe get a nice condo, something easier to maintain." I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was nodding, smiling, as if this made perfect sense. "Emma, this is my home." "I know, Mom. I grew up here. But it's so much space for one person. And think about it, when our investment pays off, you'll get your money back plus returns. Daniel's company is going to be huge. You'll never have to worry about money again." I wanted to say no right then. I wanted to tell them it was insane to expect me to sell my home for a business venture, but Emma's eyes were so bright, so full of hope. And I thought about how empty the house felt sometimes, how I rattled around in it like a marble in a shoebox. "Let me think about it," I said. Over the next 2 weeks, they called every day, sometimes twice a day. Emma would send me articles about successful startups. Daniel would forward me emails from investors who were supposedly eager to fund the project once they saw the seed money in place. "Mom, we're running out of time," Emma said on one call. "The investor window closes in 30 days. If we don't move now, someone else will develop this idea and we'll have missed our chance." I looked around my house, my garden, the neighborhood where I'd lived for over 3 decades, and I thought about my daughter's happiness. Isn't that what mothers do? Sacrifice for their children's future? I called a realtor that afternoon. The house sold in 2 weeks. The market was hot, and a young family offered me $520,000. I sat at the closing table and signed papers that gave away my home, and I told myself I was doing the right thing, I was investing in my daughter's future, in her happiness. Emma and Daniel were at the title company when I received the check. I'd already told them I'd give them $400,000 and keep $120,000 for myself. Enough to rent a small place, to live modestly on my Social Security until their business took off and paid me back. "Mom, you're amazing," Emma said, hugging me in the parking lot. "You're literally making our dreams come true." Daniel suggested we go straight to the bank to set up the investment account. It seemed rushed, but they were so excited, so grateful. At the bank, I wrote them a check for $400,000. Daniel said they'd set up a formal investment contract, something legal that would protect my money and guarantee my returns. "We'll get this to you next week," he promised. "Our lawyer is drawing it up now." That was in May. By June, I was living in a small one-bedroom apartment in a building that smelled like old carpet and disappointment. I'd sold or donated most of my furniture. What could I do with a 4-bedroom house worth of belongings in a space this small? I called Emma every few days to check on the business. She always sounded busy, distracted. "Things are moving fast, Mom. Really fast. Daniel's working 18-hour days. We barely see each other." "And the contract?" I'd ask. "The investment paperwork?" "Oh yeah, the lawyer's been swamped. But it's coming. Don't worry." In July, I saw the Instagram post. Emma and Daniel, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. The caption read, "Finally taking our delayed honeymoon. Paris is magical." I stared at the photo for a long time. I called Emma. It went to voicemail. I called again the next day. And the next. Finally, she texted, "Mom, I'm traveling. Can we talk when I get back?" They were gone for 3 weeks. Paris, then the French Riviera, then Barcelona. I watched their vacation unfold on social media like a movie I couldn't turn off. Expensive restaurants, designer shopping bags, a yacht rental. When they finally came home, I drove to their apartment. They'd upgraded since the last time I'd visited. The building had a doorman, granite countertops, a view of Camelback Mountain. "Mom!" Emma seemed surprised to see me. "You should have called first." I did call. 17 times. Daniel appeared behind her, still in his pajama pants at 2 in the afternoon. His hair was disheveled, and he looked annoyed at the interruption. "Mrs. Richardson, what brings you by?" "I came to ask about the business, about my investment contract." They exchanged another one of those glances. "Come in," Emma said, though she didn't sound like she meant it. Their apartment was 3 times the size of mine. New furniture, a massive television. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see expensive appliances, a wine fridge, a coffee maker that looked like something from a spaceship. "Nice place," I said. "Daniel got a promotion," Emma explained quickly. "His company is doing really well." "I thought he left his job to work on the startup?" "Oh, yeah. Well, he's doing both. For now." I sat down on their leather couch. It still had the tags attached. "I need to see the investment contract. The paperwork that shows where my $400,000 went." Daniel cleared his throat. "Mrs. Richardson, these things take time. The legal process is complicated." "It's been 3 months." "Exactly. That's nothing in the business world. We're making excellent progress. The prototype is almost ready. We've had incredible feedback from potential investors." "Show me." "Show you what?" "Show me the prototype, the business plan, the feedback from investors. Show me anything that proves my $400,000 is actually being used for what you said it would be." The silence that followed was deafening. Emma stood up. "Mom, I can't believe you're being like this. Don't you trust us?" "I want to trust you. That's why I'm asking to see proof." "You're acting like we stole from you," Daniel said, his voice hardening. "We're building something here, something big. But it takes time." "Then show me the timeline. Show me the business plan." "We don't have to show you anything," Daniel snapped. "You gave us that money. It was a gift, an investment gift. That's what you told the bank, remember?" My blood ran cold. He was right. At the bank, when they'd asked the purpose of the check, Daniel had suggested I say it was a gift to avoid tax complications. I'd been stupid enough to agree. "But you promised a contract. You promised this was an investment that would pay returns." Emma's expression shifted. Something cold crept into her eyes. "Mom, we appreciate what you did. We really do. But Daniel's right. You gave us that money. If the business succeeds, of course we'll take care of you. But there was never a legally binding agreement. I felt like I'd been slapped. Emma, that money was from selling my house, my home. I'm living in a tiny apartment because we said we'd try to build a business. Daniel interrupted. We never guaranteed anything. That's not how investments work. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes they succeed. That's the risk you took. Where is my money? It's being used for the business, Emma said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Then show me. Right now. Show me bank statements, business expenses, anything. Daniel stood up. His face was red now. You need to leave. This is harassment. We let you into our home, and you're accusing us of stealing. Get out. Emma, I turned to my daughter, pleading. Please, just tell me the truth. She looked away. You should go, Mom. I drove back to my apartment in a daze. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that Instagram post. The Eiffel Tower, the yacht, the designer bags. 3 weeks in Europe didn't come cheap. Neither did a luxury apartment with a doorman. The next morning, I did something I'd never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Webb, and he'd come recommended by a woman at my church who'd used him during her divorce. He was in his 50s, with kind eyes and the patience to listen to my story without judgment. I need to know where my money went, I told him. I can find out, he said. But Mrs. Richardson, I have to warn you, sometimes the truth is worse than not knowing. I need to know. It took him 3 weeks. When he called me to his office, he had a folder an inch thick. Your money didn't go to any business, Marcus said gently. There is no startup. There's no app development, no prototype, no investors. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Bank statements, credit card bills, all in Daniel and Emma's names. $70,000 to a luxury car dealership, Daniel's BMW. $45,000 to a furniture store, $32,000 to a European travel agency, $20,000 to Tiffany & Co., $15,000 to a high-end electronics store. The list went on and on. Restaurants, clothes, a boat they'd bought and sold within 2 months, the deposit and first few months' rent on their expensive apartment. They spent it all? I whispered. Almost all of it. There's about $18,000 left in their joint checking account. The rest is gone. I felt sick. There's more, Marcus said quietly. Daniel filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago. He has significant debt. The promotion Emma mentioned? He was actually fired from his job 4 months ago for padding his expense reports. He's been unemployed this whole time. The room spun. And Emma? Emma knew. I have texts between them, from before they approached you. They planned this, Mrs. Richardson. They needed money, and they saw your house as the solution. I couldn't breathe. My daughter, my Emma, the little girl I'd raised, who I'd sung to sleep, who I'd taught to ride a bike. She'd looked me in the eye and taken everything I had. Can I sue them? I asked. Marcus nodded. Yes. You have a very strong case for fraud. They solicited money under false pretenses. Even though you wrote the check as a gift, their intent was to deceive you. Any decent lawyer can prove that. I hired a lawyer that afternoon. Her name was Patricia Hernandez, and she was a shark in a blazer. When I showed her the evidence Marcus had gathered, her eyes lit up. We're going to destroy them, she said, and I felt a surge of something dark and satisfying. The lawsuit was filed in September. Emma called me that night, screaming into the phone. You're suing us? Your own daughter? Over money? You lied to me. You stole from me. You took my home. We didn't steal anything. You gave it to us. You committed fraud, Emma. And you're going to pay for it. She hung up. I didn't hear from her again until the court date. The trial was in November. Emma and Daniel showed up in expensive clothes, trying to look respectable. But Patricia had done her homework. She had the Instagram posts blown up to poster size. She had the bank statements. She had the timeline showing when they'd bought each luxury item. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Sandra Kwan. She listened to Emma and Daniel's lawyer argue that it had been a gift, that there was no written contract, that business investments are always risky. Then she looked at the evidence. At the photos of Emma and Daniel living large on my money while I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. At the proof that there was never any business, never any app, never any investors. This is one of the most brazen cases of elder financial abuse I've seen in my 20 years on the bench, Judge Kwan said. Mrs. Richardson trusted her daughter and son-in-law. They exploited that trust in the most calculated way possible. They didn't just take her money, they took her home. She ruled in my favor. Every penny, plus interest, plus damages, plus legal fees. The total came to $485,000. But here's the thing about judgments. You have to collect them. And Daniel and Emma didn't have that kind of money anymore. They'd spent it. Patricia got a lien on their apartment, got a garnishment on any future wages, got access to their bank accounts, thin as they were. It would take years to collect it all, she warned me. Maybe I'd never get it all back. But I didn't care anymore, because the case had made the local news. The story of a daughter and son-in-law who'd scammed an elderly widow out of her life savings went viral in our area. Emma's name was Mud. Daniel couldn't get hired anywhere everyone knew who he was. Their landlord evicted them when the story broke. Apparently, having tenants who committed elder fraud was bad for the building's reputation. I saw Emma one more time after the trial. She came to my apartment, the one I was still living in, because I couldn't afford anything better yet. She looked smaller somehow, tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. "Mom," she said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting to call on my birthday. This was a choice. A series of choices. We were desperate. Daniel's debt was crushing us. I just wanted to help him. I thought we could make it work, make enough money to pay you back. By buying a BMW? By going to Europe? By throwing away my security like it meant nothing?" She was crying now. I know. There's no excuse. But you're my mother. Can't you forgive me?" I looked at her for a long moment. At the daughter I'd raised and loved and trusted. "I can forgive you," I said finally, "but I won't forget. And I won't have you in my life. You made your choice when you took my home. Now I'm making mine. Mom." "Goodbye, Emma." She left. I haven't seen her since. 6 months after the trial, I finally started getting money back. Patricia had managed to seize Daniel's car, the BMW he'd bought with my money. It sold for $62,000 at auction. More money came from the garnishment on Emma's wages. She'd found work at a retail store, making minimum wage. 25% of her paycheck came to me now. It wasn't enough to buy another house. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I found a better apartment. One that didn't smell like failure. I started rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I'm 66 now. I garden on my small balcony. I've made friends with the other women in my building, most of them widows like me, most of them with their own stories of children who disappointed them. Sometimes at night, I think about Emma, about the little girl who used to pick dandelions for me and call them flowers, about the teenager who'd cry on my shoulder after breakups, about the young woman who'd ask me to help her pick out her wedding dress. That Emma is gone. Maybe she never existed. Maybe I just wanted so badly to see the good in my daughter that I ignored the truth. But I learned something from all this. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. I learned that being a mother doesn't mean being a martyr. I learned that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hurt you worst. And I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. Strong enough to stand up to my own daughter. Strong enough to demand justice. Strong enough to walk away. I have enough money now. Not as much as I had before, but enough. I'm careful with it. I trust no one with it. Every penny I collect from that judgment goes into an account that only I can access, with my name only on the papers. Emma sends me cards sometimes. On Mother's Day, on my birthday. They always say the same thing. "I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me." I don't respond. Because here's what I finally understand. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I can forgive her for what she did and still protect myself from her doing it again. I can forgive her and still say no. The other day, I got a notice from Patricia. They'd recovered another $10,000 from the sale of some jewelry Daniel had bought. It was a small victory, but I'd learned to appreciate small victories. I took that money and bought rose bushes for my balcony, the same kind I'd had at my old house. They're blooming now, pink and full and beautiful. I water them every morning. I deadhead them every evening. And I remind myself that some things, once lost, can be found again. Maybe not in the same way, maybe not in the same place, but they can bloom again. Even after everything, I can bloom again, and that's enough.